Welcome back to the VybeShift Podcast. Today I want to talk about a form of exhaustion that rarely gets discussed. Most people think exhaustion comes from doing too much. Sometimes it does, but there is another kind of exhaustion, a quieter exhaustion, a more invisible kind. The exhaustion that comes from thinking about everything, not just occasionally, constantly. You wake up thinking, you drive thinking, you work thinking, you eat thinking, you shower thinking, you lie in bed thinking. You wake up 3 times in the morning thinking. And eventually a person can become so accustomed to that constant mental activity that they stop questioning it. They assume this is simply what life feels like. But what if it isn't? What if much of what we call stress is actually the consequence of carrying more mental responsibility than any human being was designed to carry? Today, I want to explore that possibility because I suspect many people listening are not merely tired, they are mentally exhausted. And there is a difference. The modern burden. There was a time in human history when most people needed to concern themselves with a relatively small number of immediate priorities: food, shelter, family, community, survival. Today we carry all of those things plus hundreds of additional considerations: career planning, retirement planning, health optimization, financial forecasting, family obligations, social expectations, professional expectations, economic uncertainty, political uncertainty, There was a time in human history when most people needed to concern themselves with a relatively small number of immediate priorities: food, shelter, family, community, survival. Today we carry all of those plus hundreds of additional considerations: career planning, retirement planning, health optimization, financial forecasting, family obligations, social expectations, professional expectations, economic uncertainty, political uncertainty, technological change. The endless stream of information arriving through our phones and computers. Our minds are processing far more than they were ever designed to process. And because we have adapted to this environment, we often fail to recognize how extraordinary the burden has become. The problem isn't merely that we have more information. The problem is that we feel responsible for responding to it. Every email feels important. Every notification feels important. Every opportunity feels important. Every potential problem feels important. And because everything feels important, the mind never receives permission to rest. When everything becomes a decision. One of the hidden consequences of losing touch with what matters is that life becomes an endless series of decisions. Should I do this? Should I not do this? Should I accept this opportunity? Should I decline it? Should I spend money here? Should I save it? Should I focus on this project? Should I focus somewhere else? Should I push harder? Should I slow down? Every decision feels significant because there is no longer a clear compass guiding the process. When we know what matters, many decisions become easy. When we lose touch with what matters, every decision becomes difficult, and difficulty creates fatigue. Not because we lack intelligence, not because we lack discipline, because uncertainty is expensive. The mind consumes tremendous energy trying to create certainty when certainty does not exist. The erosion of self-trust. Perhaps the greatest cost of this experience is that we slowly stop trusting ourselves. This rarely happens all at once. It happens gradually. We begin second-guessing decisions. Then we begin revisiting decisions. Then we begin analyzing decisions after we've already made them. Then we begin searching for reassurance. Then we begin looking to others to tell us what matters. And before long, something remarkable has happened. We have outsourced our inner authority. The voice that once knew how to guide us has become difficult to hear beneath all the noise. This is why so many people feel trapped in overthinking. Overthinking is often not a thinking problem. It is a trust problem. The mind keeps searching because it no longer trusts the answer it already has. The illusion of the perfect decision. Many high-performing people secretly believe there's a perfect decision hidden somewhere. If they think long enough, analyze carefully enough, research thoroughly enough, they will discover it. But life rarely works that way. Most decisions are not between right and wrong. They're between different possibilities, different paths, different experiences, different lessons. The search for the perfect decision often becomes a way of avoiding uncertainty. And because uncertainty is unavoidable, the search never ends. The mind remains engaged. The exhaustion continues. The cycle repeats. Why clarity matters. This is why clarity is so important. Clarity does not eliminate uncertainty. Clarity eliminates unnecessary uncertainty. When you know what matters, countless decisions lose their emotional charge. The opportunity may still be attractive, but it doesn't align with what matters. The answer becomes clearer. The invitation may still be appealing, but if it pulls you away from what matters, the answer becomes clearer. The decision may still involve risk, but if it serves what matters, the risk becomes easier to accept. Clarity reduces friction, and reduced friction creates energy. The deeper question. Most people ask, how do I make better decisions? Perhaps a more powerful question is, what matters deeply enough that it can guide my decisions? That question changes everything, because now we are no longer searching for certainty. We are searching for alignment, and alignment requires awareness. Not more thinking, awareness. Awareness of what nourishes you, awareness of what drains you, awareness of what repeatedly calls to you, awareness of what repeatedly pulls you away from yourself. The answers are often simpler than we imagine, but they are difficult to hear when the mind is constantly occupied. Closing reflection. As we close today's conversation, I want to leave you with a possibility. Perhaps you are not exhausted because life is asking too much of you. Perhaps you're exhausted because you have spent years trying to think your way through a life that can only be lived. Perhaps the solution is not another strategy, not another system, not another productivity tool. Perhaps the next step is remembering what deserves your attention in the first place. Because when that becomes clear, something remarkable begins to happen. The noise starts to lose its power. The mind starts to loosen its grip. The endless calculations begin to soften. And the energy that was once spent managing every possibility becomes available for actually living. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough. Enough to breathe, enough to trust, enough to move forward again. And perhaps that is where clarity begins, not in having all the answers, but in remembering what truly matters. If today's episode resonated with you, the conversation continues in this week's Vibrational Stage podcast. Today we'll explore a deeper possibility. What if the exhaustion you're feeling isn't coming from your responsibilities at all? What if it's coming from trying to carry an identity that was never meant to hold them all? We'll explore what remains when the pressure to be everything for everyone begins to loosen and a deeper sense of self begins to emerge. The VybeShift Podcast helps you recognize the patterns shaping your experience. The Vibrational Stage Podcast explores the deeper emotional and existential terrain beneath those patterns. You can continue the journey by following the link in the show notes.